All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're opening up the essential playbook for any data engineer who's working in the AWS cloud. So today, we're going to map out the top services you absolutely need to know to build powerful, scalable data pipelines, from the ground up.
Okay, so this is the core challenge, right? Every modern business is facing this. I mean, you've got all this data pouring in, logs, user events, database records, you name it. It's all just raw material. The real question is, how do you actually build a system to refine all that raw data into real, tangible business value? And that is where the data engineer comes in.
So the answer isn't just, throwing a bunch of random services at the wall and seeing what sticks. Nope. The real solution is a clear, structured process, and we call it the data engineering lifecycle. You gotta have a plan. Think of it like a roadmap that guides data from its raw, messy state to a finished, valuable product. We're going to follow this journey to see how the most critical AWS services fit together just perfectly. So here it is, our four-step journey. We'll start with ingestion. That's just getting the data in. Then we'll move to storage, giving it a home. After that, we'll get our hands dirty with transformation to make it useful. And finally, orchestration, to automate the whole shebang. Let's dive into the first one.
Okay, so before we can do any of the cool, fancy analysis, we first have to collect the data from all its different sources. This is the ingestion stage. And it's not just about moving bytes around. You have to think about the data's format, how often it shows up, is it coming in 24/7, or is it just like a big file drop once a day? And of course, where it's ultimately going to land in our system.
All right, so when you've got data coming at you nonstop and you need to react to it like right now, Amazon Kinesis is your go-to. We're talking about things like website clickstreams, IoT sensor data, application logs. Kinesis is purpose-built to just capture and process these massive, high-speed data streams on the fly. It's perfect for things like live dashboards or real-time fraud detection. Okay, so we're getting all of this data in. Now, where does it go? It needs a home. But here's the thing, not all data storage is created equal. AWS gives us two main and actually pretty different types of homes for our data, and each one is designed for a very specific purpose. Let's break down the data lake versus the data warehouse.
First up, we have Amazon S3, which is really the foundation of what we call the modern data lake. The best way to think about S3 is like this giant, super cheap reservoir. You can pour literally any kind of data into it, JSON, CSVs, images, whatever, in its original raw format. This is so powerful because it separates your storage from your processing, which gives you incredible flexibility for the future. Then, on the other side of the coin, you've got Amazon Redshift. This is your classic high-performance data warehouse. So after you've cleaned and structured your data, this is where it lives. It uses a special kind of storage called columnar storage. What that means is it only reads the columns you actually ask for in a query, which makes it lightning fast for BI and reporting.
So here's the key takeaway. S3 and Redshift aren't fighting each other. No, they're partners. You dump everything, all your raw data, into the S3 data lake because it's cheap and flexible. Then you take the really important, cleaned up stuff and put it in Redshift so your analyst can query it like crazy at top speed.
All right, so having all that raw data in your lake is great. It's full of potential, but honestly, it's not that useful by itself. The transformation stage, well, this is the digital refinery where the real magic happens. This is where we take that raw, messy data and we cleanse it, we fix errors, we enrich it with other data, and we reshape it into a clean, totally usable format.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because on AWS, you basically have two main ways to go. The big question you have to ask yourself is this: do you want something that's super convenient and hands-off? We call that serverless. Or do you need raw power and total control over a whole cluster of machines? For a lot of data engineers, AWS Glue is the go-to. It's their workhorse. It's what we call a serverless ETL service. And that ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. And the serverless part is huge. It means you just write your transformation scripts and Glue handles all the computers in the background. You don't have to manage a thing. It even has a data catalog to keep track of everything for you.
But what if you're dealing with just an insane amount of data, like petabytes of it? Well, that's when you bring out the big guns, Amazon EMR. EMR gives you a whole managed cluster of machines running super powerful open source tools like Apache Spark. It's designed to process just enormous amounts of data in parallel, giving you all the control you need to tune your jobs perfectly.
And this is the perfect place to talk about Amazon Athena. I love this analogy. Think of Athena as a serverless magnifying glass for your data lake. So before you go and build some big, complex glue or EMR pipeline, you can just pop open Athena and run standard SQL queries directly on your raw files sitting in S3. It is an incredibly powerful tool for just quick, on-the-fly exploration.
Okay, let's recap. We've got data coming in, we've got a place to put it, and we have the tools to clean it up. But how do you make all these pieces work together automatically? How do you schedule them? Handle failures? That, my friends, is orchestration. It's the central control system for our entire pipeline.
An orchestrator is basically the conductor of your data orchestra. It's the brain of the operation. It tells one job when to start, waits for it to finish, then kicks off the next one. And if something fails, it knows to retry or to send out an alert. It's what makes sure your pipeline runs like clockwork, every single time, without you having to manually do anything.
And in the AWS world, you've really got two main players here. First is AWS Step Functions. It's perfect for visually designing those if this then that kind of workflows. Like, hey, when a new file lands in S3, automatically kick off this function, and when that's done, run this glue job. Then for more complex, code-heavy pipelines, you have Amazon MWAA, which is a managed version of the super popular open source tool Apache Airflow, where you define everything as code in Python.
And there you have it. That's the whole playbook right there. We ingest data in real time with Kinesis, we store the raw stuff in our S3 data lake, and the polished stuff in our Redshift data warehouse. We transform it using the serverless power of Glue or the big data muscle of EMR, and we explore it quickly with Athena. And then we automate the whole thing with Step Functions or MWAA. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. The data itself is just the raw material. By mastering these AWS services, data engineers are the ones building these incredible digital refineries that turn that raw stuff into the fuel for everything. Modern business intelligence, machine learning, and all sorts of innovation.
And that really wraps up our explainer for today. We've laid out the playbook, we've covered the core services. But at the end of the day, the real power isn't just knowing what the tools are. It's all about the powerful, important business questions that you can finally go and answer with them.